Hello the internets, welcome back to the Waifus. I'm Sefhi, your favorite gambling addict, and today's video is going to be on Asuka, the free character for the collaboration with Senran and Kagura in Lost Sword. Now important because people have been asking, you cannot get any other character for the collab, the banners are not here, it's been delayed, and in order to get Asuka, simply go to Season Pass, Path of the Shinobi, and you can complete this. By completing the event, you get the character max out for free with her pet. And we'll talk about both things, the character, the card, the pet, and all in all, where she's on the tier list, if I recommend building her or not, if I recommend doing her training or not, and a bit of everything else in between. So, let's jump directly into this. Before we start, obviously, leave a like, subscribe, and make it to the channel, and let's talk about Asuka. I'm gonna start explaining her kit, then we'll jump into how to build her, then we'll jump into damage number comparisons, so you guys can see some damage in contrast to my other knights, so Ran, Anessa, Lua, and even Palamedes, and then where she's on the tier list as well. Let's start with her kit, since that's probably the most important part, right? Her kit is pretty straightforward, she doesn't have anything interesting going on. For a free character, feels a bit underwhelming, not bad. Just because we are used to every new character that releases for this game, it's broken, right? So when we get a character that's just a decent unit, it's like, this feels weird. That's it. We have a normal passive giving attack and crit chance, pretty standard in most DPSs. We have also this passive that is Equipment Mastery, giving you increased effects for the main stats up to 160% and items up to level 999. And this is, for the most part, like I said on my previous video, only these stats right here. Okay, only these stats right here. It's nothing else. It's not the percentages, it's nothing else. It's only the main stats. Okay, so it's a little bit limiting, but it does increase her damage. It's just a waste of a passive. This should have something else, in my opinion, also giving her more damage, maybe crit, whatever it is, right? Then she has a normal basic skill dealing AoE damage to all enemies on 11-second cooldown, and then a ultimate, once again pretty simple, dealing 1131% of attack to all enemies, giving herself 50% attack for 15 seconds on a 32-second cooldown duration. And then this buff where she changes appearance, it's nothing but simply going into her underwear, just like Senran Kagura and Lost Sword do with, breaking their clothes, but it's nothing else, okay? That is just a change on appearance. It doesn't buff her or anything. So, super straightforward kit. And the way of building her, it's also super simple and super straightforward. Just like most knight DPSs, you just focus on crit and attack on your gear, and then you will focus obviously on the specialties on the same simple stats. So when it comes to the rune, anything with crit is good. I'm using Eye of the Storm, even though it's not the best one, okay? Just because it's a quad crit damage, is the only quad crit damage that I have. I'm using a Green Knight helmet. You could be using any of the Crown of the Dead. You could be using some of the new items they've been releasing, but for the most part, one of these two is pretty good. I am using, for testing purposes, the Wrath of Agnes for the passive, but you could be using anything else just for the extra block chance to survive longer if you are running a normal character. By the way, we got, as you guys can see, new borders. Maybe you guys cannot see it on the items, but some items have a different border now if it's items with good stats, right? That's the special border we get. It's kind of hard to see, but it's nice that you can, at the first glance, know what items are better. And then for weapons, same thing, attack and crit, whatever you have. I was running double just to test with Fragarage. And then I'll talk about cards on a moment when we show damage number comparisons. When it comes to specialties, it's exactly the same thing, attack and crit. I got double crit, one attack. I am not rerolling this because it's too expensive to be rerolling, costing 16 per reroll is disgusting. I'm sorry, but no. I'll wait for the next character, Hikage. Now, important, her training. So the training is cheaper. It's about 150 to 100 stones cheaper, but it's not global stats. So there is like almost no reason, unless you really like this character, to be going all in on her training. I did, to compare her damage from no training to max training, and I'm gonna be honest, it was not that much of an increase on her own damage. at all. It was like 300 million extra damage from going from bond 0 to bond 20 and from training 0 to training to max out training. 300 million extra damage, which is, again, not that great. Now, let's talk about cards and what's good for her. And then we'll go into tier list. And to talk about cards, we also have to talk about, obviously, damage numbers. So let's start with the basic stuff. Okay, I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. Right here. So Radiance Week 1 minute 30. No training. Bond level 0. Affection level 0. No training. No food buffs. Max out training. Max out bond affection level. All food buffs. 1.7. Now, this team composition was made for Palamedes, okay? Obviously, you would not be running Asteria on a team like this. You would be running something else. But still, it works to see how her damage works. This is always a 1 minute 30 Radiance damage test. 1.7 using Lua card. Her best card is not Lua. I also was testing Ran card. A pretty similar result, 1.7. I was also checking Abyss card, and this is her best card. 2.4 build damage. This is pretty nice, okay? 2.4 is actually pretty decent for her character. But again, this is assuming max out character, good specialties, good gear, and a pretty good card only gets her to 2.4 on a dummy on her element with the Abyss card. And then with the Palamedes card, it's like 1.6. So those 4 cards are the best cards. I do not recommend investing on her own card. So her own card, it's literally the same stats as Run, melee attack and melee critical hit chance. But the passive you get is damage reduction for herself. She is a glass cannon, just like Palamedes, so it's good to get a damage reduction. But if we are being honest and we're being real on this game, you want extra damage. You do not care about running personal damage reduction on a DPS card. You want the damage. So you are almost never gonna be running her own card. It's viable, and for new players it's good, but yes, I wouldn't recommend investing in it. The best card is gonna be the Abyss card. If you don't have it, then you can be running either Ran, Lua, or her own, and it will be fine. Now, for some comparison, since we just talked about cards, I want to also share the same setup, right? So she was doing 2.4, remember that, 2.4 for Asuka. Same setup, running Ran instead. She's doing 2 billion on the same dummy. And then going into different dummies. So for example, for Anessa right here, 2.7, right? Anessa is doing better. And then going into, for example, Lua is doing 2.6. And again, these are not the best setups for any of these characters. I think she's a worse Lua / Anessa. A character you can use, a character people will be able to take advantage of. But if you compare her with the Meta Knight characters, she's nowhere close. This is a 6.5 Palamedes, obviously on a really specific team with multiple CC. You could be switching this team to include even more CC, it's up to you, but yes, 6.5, which is a huge difference, right? Like really big difference. Now, like I was saying earlier, I don't think she's bad. I think it's just that we were expecting, you know, every single character to come out to be like Nesha and all of these units that are broken. I think she's nice. I think for new players, this is a max out character that will carry you no problem at all. For new players, this is fantastic. So in that regard, great. When it comes to meta, however, I don't think we'll see her a lot unless they start restricting game modes a little bit more when it comes to team compositions and what you can run, right? But at the moment, with all that we've just talked and what I've shared, I put her on T1. If we're talking about knights, she is, like I was saying, a bit worse than Anessa and Lua. She is not at the level of Claire, Lilith, and Percival, which are mostly Omega niche characters. She can be used, she's decent, I just don't think she's gonna be breaking the meta anytime soon. When it comes to her card, I am putting it on T2, and the reason is simple. Yes, it's the same stats as Ran, but Ran's gives good buffs, just like most of the cards in T1, while this card for Asuka, it's more niche, because most players don't really need that damage reduction. Again, most players are already at endgame. It's still a nice card, it's just less efficient to run than getting personal or extra damage, okay? And then lastly, we can talk about the pet. So the pet, you will also get it for free max out, and it's actually a pretty decent pet. Once again, This is a free max out pet that gives 60% attack, 10% damage reduction, 10% critical resistance, and if you decide to use it at the front, a 12% attack on a 100% uptime. I don't think this is a main pet, a pet to use at the front, but for the stats it has, it's pretty decent. Obviously, you don't want to compare it with the Tiamat that gives a lot more things, but it's still pretty good. For a free pet as a secondary or third pet is incredibly good. And again, it's completely free to max out even for free players. So in that regard, her pet is a lot better, and for now I'm putting it on T1, where a lot of these nice pets you can run on your teams are, right? I have to update some of the ratings on some of these pets, might move some up, but for the most part, yeah, she is just right there chilling. Pretty nice pet, I like it a lot. I think both of them will be a really good addition for new players who are starting out with the collab and want to progress faster. It will allow them to push content and get more resources. I wouldn't recommend investing on her training unless you like her, to be honest. I would wait for Hikage to see how good she's gonna be, because it feels she might be the winner at least on this first batch, in contrast to Asuka. That said, enough ranting, enough jumping. That's everything for this video, for this should you build Asuka. As usual, we are live every single day. Every questions you guys might have, feel free to leave a comment down below. Good luck with your pool dinner rates, and I'll see you on the next one.